Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me for this little mini training, which is going to show you how to ditch the debt in 2025 in 5 simple steps. So, if we are not firm friends, my name is Rebecca Barr. You might be watching this on my YouTube channel, The Money Mama 6, or you might be listening to it on my podcast. But I felt really compelled to record today's training because I was watching something yesterday, a program yesterday, and there is a real growing pandemic with people that are really struggling with debt right now. And as a money mentor, I always want to be really responsive to what my community needs from me. And I can talk about abundance and, being a wealthy woman. But if you're currently in debt, then that will feel so far away that it's really hard to kind of get into the good vibes and all the things when you're feeling so deflated about situations that feel like they're outside of your control. And what this like money charity reported that they have seen a 25% increase in people seeking support and help around debt, because the average debt amount for a person in the UK has grown from £12,000 to £15,000. And if you consider, what people are typically earning as an average salary, that can be years before you can ever clear that debt. And again, the reason that I feel so passionate about this is because, God, probably about 15 years ago, that was me. I was in a lot of debt in a corporate job. Basically, I bought a house. So this was actually before kids. So yeah, probably even longer, maybe even like 18 years ago. But I have very much experienced debt multiple times throughout my life where it feels completely overwhelming. Debt to me now is no big thing because I know how to work the steps. I know how to utilize debt to my advantage. I know that there is always more money, and I've released any guilt and shame around ever being in debt. So even, I have debt now on I've got a business loan, I've got some credit cards, I've got a car payment that is literally eye-watering for various reasons because of bad business debts and that's just the nature of the game as an entrepreneur. So, not every business is a success. And I think there needs to be more conversations around it's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean you're useless, doesn't mean you don't know how to manage money. Just sometimes things can get outside of our control and life can run away with us. And that's absolutely fine because you can turn this around at any point. And that's what I want to be like the overriding message. So, but I do know how it can feel when I experienced it the first time, where it is just all consuming and taking over your life and really stealing your joy and making you feel some kind of way about yourself. So I'm kind of creating this episode from that place. So basically what happened was, in the first instance, was I'd bought a house. The market then had a huge downturn, so I instantly lost money on the house. Couldn't even sell it if I wanted to. I'd paid 100,000. I lost like £100,000 in equity pretty much overnight. I bought it with two friends, feeling like the mortgage payments would be manageable. And one of them left instantly within the first 3 months because they were like, yeah, I'm out. This is too hard. This is too much money, too much adulting. And it just meant that the other friend that I was then left with, we'd budgeted so much for the payments, and then they were like a lot more. Then I lost my job, and then things just kind of spiraled from there. And I always feel like life is going to happen, and these things can be our greatest blessing because it's there to serve a purpose and teach us something and da, 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 da. And like I say, I've released all guilt and shame around that. But what I want to do is share with you the steps that I took to get myself out of that situation. So the first thing that you want to do if you are currently in debt and it feels really overwhelming is download a copy of your credit report. Now, this might sound obvious, and I know that this information is a lot more available these days, but when I was like in my 20s, it wasn't, and YouTube wasn't a thing, and TikTok wasn't a thing. And I really struggled to find the help and the information that I needed. But that's the first thing that you want to do, because then that will give you an accurate picture of what you are currently facing in terms of credits attached to your file. Debt attached to your file. Because when I downloaded it the first time, there were all sorts of things on there that weren't right. So every time you are on a property with somebody else, you are linked. So I had debts from my previous partner that I didn't even know about. I had to get us unlinked because it was affecting my credit rating, and you can obviously do that. share with you how to do that. So I always recommend Experian. They have a free report which will give your overall credit rating. But it might not give you the details, so you might need to pay to get the full report. But it also gives you like the most up-to-date, accurate number. It will also tell you what is affecting your score right now. So I know a lot of people talk about balance transfers on credit cards, 0% balance transfers, but if you don't have good credit, you're not going to get them. So you need to obviously start proactively working on increasing your credit rating if you anticipate that you will need to use more debt to get yourself out of this situation, i.e. low interest, moving high interest debts to low interest debts instead. So obviously have a look at that. They'll also tell you all the things that are working against you. I didn't know that not being on an electoral roll actually goes against you. Not being at a property for very long goes against you. All of these little things I wasn't aware of. So obviously do that as your first step. Get an accurate picture, get all of your bills out. Let's really be confronting. And I know it can be so easy to avoid these things otherwise, but let's have a look at what the actual situation is. I've actually created a brand new bundle, by the way, which is Ditch the Debt Bundle. And it's got an ultimate spreadsheet in there, which will help you to track your savings, your net worth, your credit rating, your debts. It will help you to prioritize what order to pay them off and by how much. There's also an intentional spending plan and monthly budget tracker in there. There's a Dream Life savings goals planner in there as well, and as well as additional resources that are going to help you to identify the self-sabotaging behaviors that potentially have got you into this spot, or maybe haven't. They'll also help you to release the guilt and shame around having this debt, and they'll also help you to raise your vibrations and get into the place of receiving more money. And it's only £7. So I'm going to pop the link at the bottom of this video. Please go and get that if you recognize that you need some help and structure to sorting this problem out. Obviously, once you've got a list of all of your debts, then what you need to do is actually look at the interest rates, because there's lots of different ways that you can pay off your debts. There's lots of different approaches, and it really depends on whether, what your personal preference is. I don't think there's any right or wrong. It's got to be a way that really prioritizes you, that helps you to have focus and motivates you to keep going. So I know that a lot of people talk about, and then basically decide on a strategy that works for you. So I know a lot of people talk about the avalanche method, which is where you get a list of all of the interest rates for all your current debts. So that would be car finance, could be mortgage, but that's probably a low interest rate. So I don't really consider that a debt, but you could still use the same resources and process to get that down. That's what I did, and I got my mortgage under 100,000 by the age of 25. So that was pretty good. And also, so what they then, obviously it could be credit cards, overdrafts, loans, all of those sorts of things, anything like shop credit cards, those sorts of things. Also, anything that is essentially charging you interest, we want that on there. Even if it's like payments for your sofa, if they are charging you interest on that, then we need it on the spreadsheet, because you don't want to be paying money that you don't need to pay, basically. And most companies will give you a settlement figure to pay it off early. So and that will save you interest as well. So the avalanche method is where you have whatever those out of that list has the highest interest rate, you pay that off first, because you're basically losing the most money on those payments. But for me, that wasn't necessarily the most motivating. So what I did instead was I actually went for the smallest amounts that I knew that I could clear within a few months, because I needed to see some quick wins. And I knew that if I went for the highest interest rates, those were the things like my car payments, my overdraft, they were thousands, and I was not going to be paying those off anytime soon. And for me, I needed to see the growth and the progression. And equally, if you tackle some of those smaller debts that are around £1,000, maybe less, that gives you more disposable cash to then put onto the bigger amount. So again, it really depends. That's called the snowball method, where you are essentially paying off the smallest amount first. Decide on the strategy, get your game plan, get your spreadsheet. Energy flows where focus goes. Our brains love specificity, and we need to just start deciding and tackling and paying it off and seeing that progression. Obviously, make sure any payments that you're committing to are on your monthly budget or intentional spending plan so that you can keep track of that. And you always want to make sure that you're overpaying slightly from the monthly minimum payments on any of your debts, even if it's just like £10. It makes a difference in the interest and in the overall amount that you will pay off. Then the next step, once you've decided on the strategy and you know exactly what you're doing, is to identify ways to overpay. So this is called the snowflake method. It's where you essentially just chip away at your debts and reduce your interest by paying additional amounts as and when you can. So even if, and this is what I did, so I would overestimate or round up all of my monthly bills. And then, so say I thought like the electric bill was going to be 180 and it was 170. That £10 difference, I would then pay off my mortgage or pay off a credit card or leave in my overdraft to just gradually start to clear that down. And even if it is only £10, it's making a difference. But ideally, we want to be increasing your income and looking at other revenue streams that can help you to pay that off quicker. Don't rely on budgeting alone to pay off your debts because it could take years, and you can only get your expenses down to zero, but your earning potential is unlimited. So there will be so many ways right now, so much abundance that's available to you. I've recorded so many YouTube videos on this, so I might pop some of the links below. Where you can make extra money very quickly. So this could be using top cashback sites, renting out your driveway, renting out your house on Airbnb when you go on holiday, because you've still got to live your life and enjoy yourself in the meantime. So I'm never going to be the money mentor that tells you to cut out everything, have no joy in your life, no holidays, you're frivolous if you want to buy a coffee. It's just about the intentionality around what you're spending. It's spending on the things that bring you joy, and the things that don't, obviously in balance and moderation, but the things that don't, just cutting them out. Like, who cares? Get rid of the things that you don't need. Like gym membership, do you really need it? Does it really bring you joy? If it does, then go and live your best life. If it doesn't and it's torture, you could do that same workout at home for free or with a friend in the park. But you could also sell things on Vinted, eBay. There's just, you could monetize a social media channel. You could add extra services to your business. You could be a dog walker. I had an app that I used once when I had my last baby, because I didn't have any childcare. Obviously, I don't have any family that lives close to me. And what I essentially did was I used this app. It was it was like a child mining app. So was basically like the most incredible childcare, because all of the women that were on there were CRB checked. They were typically teachers that were looking to earn extra income, or they were already childminders who were perhaps waiting for or didn't necessarily want full-time all day permanent kids. They just wanted a bit of flexibility. So the quality of childminders that I got through that app were insane. And they would literally come to my house. The minimum amount was 3 hours. It cost me like £10 an hour, so £30. And they would literally come to my house and hold my baby for 3 hours. And that was it. So that felt really good for me as a parent, that I wasn't sending her off to nursery, wasn't paying hundreds of pounds. I had complete flexibility and autonomy. So if actually something had come up and I wasn't working that week, or I didn't have any calls, didn't have a regular commitment to a childminder that I then had to pay even though I wasn't using it. It was amazing. So all of those women are earning extra money. And one of the ladies that came that actually ended up being quite a regular lady for me, she was a teacher. She'd gone part-time in her job, but just wanted extra money for her holidays. And she loved it. She was literally, she'd take the baby down to the shop, go get us lunch. Like, it was just lovely. And it was... So there's so many ways out there to earn extra money. You could walk other people's dogs. You could be a childminder for somebody else. Fiverr is another great app to utilize your skills and get paid flexibly to work at home, and also increase your income in the meantime. So please look into those options. If you want more content on that, let me know. Obviously, the next step is to work on your money mindset throughout. Identify any self-sabotaging behaviors or triggers that are causing you to overspend unnecessarily. a lot of the time, we're buying things because we're getting FOMO, because we're getting validation from those purchases. I could talk about self-sabotage all day long, but I want to keep this quite brief. Obviously, we need to release the guilt and shame because you can't create from that place. There is no need to feel bad about this. As I said, I'm a money mentor and I have debts, and I'll be looking to clear those this year. I would say, again, outside of my control, life happens when you're self-employed. I was so sick for 99% of last year, because I had a very high risk pregnancy that wasn't expected. That had a massive impact on my income. I also chose that year, before I realized I was going to get pregnant, to commit to massive expenses and outcomes that still felt right as I was moving through the year to deliver on. But obviously, again, like, that has an impact. So, it is what it is, but this is what I'm going to be doing. And I don't believe in gatekeeping. I don't believe that I'm going to sit here as a money mentor and say I am perfect, because I'm not. And I think the more that we have those honest conversations, the better. It normalizes, like, I've got a problem, but I'm going to focus it with a solution mindset. This is what I'm going to do. And if you want some community on that journey, by the way, I also have my Wealthy Woman community that you're welcome to join. I'll pop the links below for 2 of my programs. So I've got my Wealthy Woman Mini Mind, which is for business owners. And then I've also got my Wealthy Woman course, which comes with a community also, which is for anybody. And then finally, it's about raising your vibrations and staying in the focus of expansion, the energy of expansion. Like, how can I make more money, rather than constriction? How can I cut my expenses? And just continuing to not let it get you down. Stay positive, surround yourself with positive people, continue to look for, how do I make more money? How do I, and just be that person that is always, in the realm of possibility, basically, rather than just making yourself feel bad or wrong about any of these things, because things happen. And you're taking all of the right steps to change that, reclaim your power that money currently has over you, so that you can become that wealthy woman. So I hope you've enjoyed this little mini training today, and you found some real value in these steps, because this is exactly what I did. It got me out of about 40K's worth of debt, which I ended up in ultimately, and equally the steps that I'll be using now, because life happens. So I hope you are, if you are wanting accountability, wanting support, please let me know. All of my links are in the video below, and I hope that you have enjoyed today's session.